When was the last time you ate?
I don't remember. I don't remember many things.
Rain hammered the pavement as Mia Carter's bike skidded around the corner, her last delivery bag swinging wildly off her shoulder. She'd been riding for 11 hours straight, and her legs screamed with every push of the pedal. She didn't have time to stop. She didn't have money to stop. But something made her brake hard outside Hendrick's bakery, tires screeching against wet concrete. An old man sat slumped against the bakery's brick wall, his clothes soaked through, his hands trembling as he stared at the warm bread glowing in the window like it was the last beautiful thing left in the world. Mia's stomach twisted. She knew that look. She'd seen it on her own mother's face before payday. "Sir," she said, crouching beside him, "when's the last time you ate?" The old man blinked up at her, his eyes glassy and lost. I don't remember," he whispered. "I don't remember a lot of things." That broke something in her. She had $4 left in her pocket. $4 meant for her mother's bus fare to the clinic tomorrow. She looked at the old man's shaking hands, then back at the bread in the window, and she made a decision that would change everything. "Stay right here," she said. "Don't move." She walked into Hendrick's bakery and bought a loaf of bread, a cup of hot tea, and used the last of her coins for a thin paper-wrapped blanket from the corner store next door. When she handed it all to him, the old man started crying. "Why?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Why would you do this for a stranger?" Mia smiled, even though her own stomach was growling, even though she had no idea how she'd explain the missing bus fare to her mother. "Because kindness doesn't ask questions," she said. "Everyone deserves to be seen, even when nobody's watching." She told him her name. He told her his Walter, just Walter. He couldn't remember a last name. He couldn't remember where he lived or how he'd ended up on that street corner in the rain, but he remembered her face. He made her promise that. If you've ever given your last dollar to help someone else, hit that like button right now, because this story is about to show you exactly why it matters. And if you want more stories like this, smash subscribe before we continue, because what happens next will break you and rebuild you. Over the following weeks, Mia couldn't stop thinking about Walter. Every day after her shift, exhausted and starving, she rode to the same corner. Sometimes he was there. Sometimes he wasn't, and panic would claw at her chest until she found him 2 streets over, confused and shivering. She brought him food when she could. She brought him conversation when she couldn't. And slowly, fragments started coming back to him. "I remember a big house," he told her one evening, staring at nothing. "White columns, a garden my wife loved." "What else?" Mia asked, leaning forward. "A watch," he said suddenly, patting his coat pocket like he was searching for something that wasn't there. "Gold. Someone gave it to me. Someone important." "Who?" Tears filled his eyes. I don't know, and it's killing me." Mia squeezed his hand. "We'll figure it out, Walter, I promise." She didn't know how big that promise was about to become. 3 weeks later, everything fell apart in an instant. Mia found Walter collapsed on the sidewalk, his lips pale, his breathing shallow. She screamed for help, flagged down a stranger's car, and rode with him to the hospital, holding his hand the entire way, refusing to let go even when nurses tried to pull her back. "I'm not family," she told the front desk nurse, "but I'm the only one he has. Please, please help him." Something in her voice made the nurse stop arguing. While doctors rushed Walter into emergency care, a nurse going through his belongings found something tucked deep in his coat pocket, a tarnished gold pocket watch, the one he'd been searching for in his broken memory all along. She turned it over and found an engraving on the back. "To Dad, you taught me everything. Love, Nathaniel, Hendrick and Voss Holdings." The nurse's hands froze. Everyone in that hospital recognized that name. Hendrick and Voss Holdings was one of the largest companies in the entire country, and Nathaniel Hendrick was its CEO, a name that showed up on magazine covers, business headlines, and a 5-year-old missing persons case that had gone cold. Within the hour, the hospital made a call that would change 4 lives forever. 300 miles away, Nathaniel Hendrick sat in a boardroom meeting that suddenly meant nothing the second his assistant burst through the door, pale and breathless. "Sir, you need to see this, now." Nathaniel read the message twice, then a third time. His hands started shaking. "We believe we've located your father." 5 years. 5 years since his father had vanished without a trace after his dementia diagnosis worsened. 5 years of private investigators, search teams, sleepless nights, and a guilt so heavy it had hollowed him out from the inside. 5 years of wondering if his father was alive, if he was scared, if he was suffering somewhere while Nathaniel sat in glass towers signing contracts that suddenly felt meaningless. "Get the helicopter ready," Nathaniel said, his voice breaking. "Now I don't care what it costs." If this story has you on the edge of your seat, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. I read every single one. And please, like this video if you're feeling what I'm feeling right now, because we are not even at the emotional part yet. When Nathaniel arrived at the hospital, he sprinted through the halls like a man possessed, security trailing behind him, unable to keep up. He burst into the room and stopped dead. There he was, older, thinner, fragile in a way that shattered something in Nathaniel's chest, but it was him, it was his father. "Dad," Nathaniel choked out, falling to his knees beside the bed. "Dad, it's me. It's Nathaniel." Walter's eyes fluttered open, confused at first, searching Nathaniel's face like he was trying to solve a puzzle his mind refused to complete. Then something shifted. Something clicked. "Nathaniel," he whispered, "my boy." The room dissolved into sobs. Doctors looked away to give them privacy. Nurses wiped their own eyes. Even the security guards in the hallway turned their heads, unwilling to intrude on a reunion 5 years in the making. "I thought I lost you," Nathaniel cried, gripping his father's hand like he'd never let go again. "I searched everywhere. I hired everyone. I never stopped looking." "I didn't even know who I was," Walter whispered. "I would have died on that street if it weren't for her." Nathaniel looked up. "Her who?" "The delivery girl," Walter said. "Mia. She saved me, Nathaniel, not your investigators, not your security teams. A girl with nothing gave me everything." Nathaniel's chest tightened. He needed to meet her, tonight. When Mia got the call asking her to come to the headquarters of Hendrick and Voss Holdings, she almost laughed and hung up, certain it was a prank. But 20 minutes later, a black car was waiting outside her apartment, and she found herself standing in a marble lobby so massive it echoed her own heartbeat back at her. Nathaniel Hendrick walked toward her, and for a moment, neither of them said anything. He just stared at her, like he was trying to memorize the face of the woman who'd saved his father's life. "You're Mia," he finally said. "I am," she answered, suddenly nervous in her worn jacket and rain boots in a building full of marble and glass. "Do you have any idea what you did?" Nathaniel asked, his voice trembling. "Do you understand what you gave me back?" "I just bought him bread," Mia said quietly. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Nathaniel said firmly, stepping closer. "Nobody else did. For 5 years, nobody else did." He tried to hand her a check, a number so large her hands actually shook just looking at it. She pushed it back toward him. "I didn't help your father because I wanted something," she said, her voice cracking but steady. "I helped him because he was cold and scared and alone, and that was enough reason for me." Nathaniel stared at her like he'd never met anyone like her in his entire life. Maybe he hadn't. "We are getting close to the ending now, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. If you haven't already, subscribe right now so you don't miss the next story, and comment one word that describes how you're feeling in this exact moment." Instead of forcing the money on her, Nathaniel did something bigger. He paid off every medical bill Mia's mother had ever accumulated. He cleared the debt that had been crushing her family for years. He funded a full scholarship for Mia to finally finish the degree she'd abandoned to support her household. But Walter wasn't finished either. Months later, with his memory steadily healing under proper care, Walter sat Nathaniel and Mia down with a folder he'd kept hidden even from his own son. "Years ago," Walter said, "before I lost myself, I created a private trust. Money set aside, not for family, not for charity galas, but for ordinary people who showed extraordinary character when no one was watching." He looked directly at Mia. "You're the first person who's ever earned it." Mia's eyes welled up. "Walter, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he said, smiling for the first time without confusion clouding his eyes. "Build something with it, something that matters." She did exactly that. With the trust, Mia opened a small bakery, the same kind of bakery that once sold her bread she could barely afford. But hers was different. She hired homeless individuals. She hired single mothers working multiple jobs just to survive. She hired people the world had stopped looking at, the way the world had almost stopped looking at Walter. Within 2 years, that single bakery became 10. Reporters showed up at her flagship opening, cameras flashing, asking her the question everyone wanted answered. "Mia, of everything you've achieved, what would you say was your best investment?" She smiled, glancing across the room where Walter and Nathaniel stood watching her, both beaming with the kind of pride that has nothing to do with blood and everything to do with love. "A loaf of bread I couldn't afford," she said. "That's the best investment I ever made." The crowd fell silent for a moment before erupting into applause. Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness doesn't just change one life. It changes everything it touches. A girl with $4 in her pocket didn't just save a stranger. She rebuilt a family, healed a 5-year wound, and proved that the world still rewards a good heart, even when it has nothing left to give. If this story moved you even a little, that's exactly why I make these. Like this video, drop a comment with your favorite line, and subscribe so you never miss the next one, because the best stories are still coming.